Hey everyone, welcome back to the All Music Matters Net podcast. I'm your host, Brian. And joining me today are three very special guests. It's Kris Keys, Jojo Brown, and Timothy Moss, all of the band Engineered Society Project. How you boys doing?
Good.
What's up?
Excellent.
All right, it's good to have you all on here. How you guys been recently? I guess, Kris, how you been?
I've been really good, man. I've been really, we're in the middle of writing stuff. We're in the middle of setting some stuff up. And really well, man.
All right, there we go. Jojo.
Been doing good, man. Same thing, just writing. Actually, we did some stuff yesterday in rehearsal. So, yeah, we go into the studio in February. So we're trying to get all this stuff going. But I can't wait until we actually go and hit the studio and give you all a chance to hear it.
All right, that sounds good. And finally, Timothy, how you doing, brother?
Man, I am doing great. Thank you for asking. In addition to working with Jojo and them last night, I've been on the phone overseas talking to some folks about a new tour. So hopefully that would come through, and we're just starting the very beginning discussions on that. So there's a lot going on, and we're excited about it.
Now, where are we at overseas?
Spain.
Oh, good choice. Actually, which part of Spain? Were you close to Madrid?
Yeah, actually Madrid's one of the cities that they're looking at.
All right, that's all cool. All right, so I want to welcome you guys to the podcast right here, and I'm assuming you guys did a good number of podcasts and interviews already, right?
Yeah.
Sure.
All right, so I think you know how this goes, but the way this is going to work is I'm just going to ask you guys some questions, and then we get to know you more both as the musicians, but also as the individuals too. So the way I think this is going to work is just to avoid any confusion, though. I'll start with Kris, then we'll go Jojo and Timothy. You'll go last. So Kris, for the first question here, tell us a little bit about yourself, I guess. Who are you? And how did you become a musician?
How did I become a musician? My mother wanted to be a country singer. Her mother wouldn't allow her to be. So she sort of lived her dream through me. At 5 years old, she put me on stage. I was a tap dancing singer. And I've really never stepped off stage since then. I'm little, but I'm loud. I'm poor, but I'm proud. I'm countrified, and I don't care who knows it. I'm like a banty rooster in a big bad rooster crowd. I'm puny, short, I'm little, but I'm loud. Probably the first song I ever sang on stage at 5 years old, and I've been on stage ever since. So really, there's nothing else I really could have done. And Elaine Keys got up to 525 pounds. She drank and ate herself to death. And literally, she was an example of what not to do. I'm here to try to change the world through music. And I bless her for putting her dream through me. And I do it a little bit for my mom, too, because I want to right the wrong in karma or whatever. And she didn't get to live her dream, and I get to live my dream.
I was almost making like a rap song going right there, to be honest. I was like, going to start popping the head. All right. And Jojo?
Well, obviously I'm the guitar player, but when it comes to why I became a musician, it's almost like I was born to do that. I mean, ever since I was a child, I always had a gift of hearing melodies and replicating them. I would hum melodies in the car, whatever it is. Even to this day, I do it. And I was put in band, and that really gave me the foundations of how to understand music and music theory. And at age 14, Hendrix was the one that really inspired me, mainly because I felt like I could understand what he was trying to say through his guitar. And I thought it was very interesting that that was possible. And it's not like I haven't heard him before, nor heard any other guitar player, but I've never heard a guitar player where I felt like I can understand some type of language that he was speaking. So what I did is I decided to pick up the guitar and try to replicate that. So here I am today, still doing it, still trying to achieve that in some type of way. But yeah, I'm still, when it comes to just being a musician, it's weird to call it that. I just think of it as just something I do. I don't think of it as a title that I try to hold on to. I always say, I'm not a guitarist. I'm just a guy who knows how to play. I just don't really attach myself that way to the instrument. It's just something I can pick up and just do.
He was born out of the womb carrying a guitar. So.
That's it, yeah.
Or this, I went to from like a Bruce Springsteen sort of joke, say he was born to run with a guitar or something like that.
I forgot. I don't know that lyric, but something like that. I would say I was born to do it. My father plays guitar, so growing up, I had absolutely no desire to do it. It was just like, oh yeah, guitar playing, that my dad does that. Cool, whatever. But I decided to use it differently than how my father uses it.
That's a pretty sweet story. So I guess, and Tim, you want to throw in your story?
Yeah, I mean, basically, I grew up in a family of musicians. My mom was a church organist for probably 40, 50 years, and most of the people in my family played. And as a little kid, I remember, different musicians, guitarists and whatever, coming over to the house on the weekends and playing. My mom would play keyboards, and really good time. And some of the guys were actually well known in Nashville and stuff, and we were in Shreveport, Louisiana. And so it wasn't uncommon at all to be around musicians when I was a kid. So that's just kind of, I didn't know anything different. So I thought that was what I was supposed to be. So I guess you just do it.
It was a God-given gift in that case. Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
Absolutely. So I guess who actually brought the whole band together? Because I'll jump into the next question afterwards. Was it more Kris?
No, it's basically, I started the band in 2015 and went through, one iteration of the band and put one record out. And then Jojo and I went back to California, and under the guidance of our producer, basically, we put a couple of folks on the Digital Soldiers record, Vinny Appice, who was with Black Sabbath, and Ripper. And so we released that record, and we said, well, hey, this is working good. The response was good to the record. So I said, we need to find somebody that can tour with us. Because obviously Vinny had his stuff going on, and so did Ripper. They were never considered to be in the band. They were just working with us. And so we put Kris in the band and Sean, and we've been very fortunate. The band is just a really solid unit, and we have been able to write a bunch of songs, and we made another record that we're touring on right now, My TV, and we're working on our third release, which will be released sometime in April or May of next year.
All right, and congrats. I think when I was talking with Kris, did you say you're touring right now with some pretty big groups like Hatebreed?
Yeah, we're doing a show with Hatebreed, I believe, in, is it May, Tim?
May like the 16th, but I don't want to say where it is just yet because it hadn't been announced publicly, and I don't want to get ahead of our people working with us, but it'll all be probably announced in the next few days, but it'll be a big festival.
As soon as they mentioned Hatebreed, the song Destroy Everything from them just popped right in my head. I'm thinking, like, that's probably what they're going to do at this concert. So let's make it a reality. I'd like to see that. That would be awesome. So I guess, Kris, for this next question right here, I guess, what is it that you love most about music? Because it seemed like your mother passed her dreams all on to you, and it seems like you carried on. So I guess, what really is it that you love most about music?
What do I love most about music? A lot of times I think everything. I like writing it. I like recording it. I like performing it. And it's also been like my relationship to the world. It's been like my relationship to the world. And really, at some points in time, it was actually a time when I went into silence when I was little. I went into a deep depression. And for 2 years, I didn't talk. And actually, all I did was listen to a little AM, FM radio. So literally, there's been points in my life where music is like my relation. I do think that came from my mother. I think that, I didn't know her that well. She passed away when I was like 9. And I think she put me on stage. She held the spotlight above me. And I think some of her dream I'm made of my mother. I'm the chromosomes of my mother. And literally, my relation to the world is music. It's funny too because I do Facebook, and I met you on Facebook, and a lot of people talk about a lot of different things on Facebook, and I don't talk about anything but music. I have nothing really to talk to. My relationship with people is music, and it ends up being that way.
I see. And I'm sorry for your loss too. That must be tough losing a parent like that too. So.
I think I do. I think every bad thing is a blessing. I think there are people in this world I've known people in this world that their parents lived until way later, and then they were much more destroyed. I was taught very early that nothing is permanent, and basically things are going to always change. Winter, spring, summer, or fall, things are going to continually change. And I think part of that was a blessing. And my mother taught me so much. She was very unhealthy, and her unhealthiness has sort of taught me to try to be as healthy as I can. So I think everything bad that happens in your life actually is possibly even better. Some of the worst things that happened in my life sometimes were the biggest teachers.
Absolutely, too. Each day is a blessing as well. And each day is also a lesson when you think about it, too. So that's all good. It's good to have you around here, mate. And Jojo, what is it that you love most about music?
I honestly don't know how to really explain it. I mean, I'm a person that loves to create it, and I also love to listen to it. I think music is a way to, for at least for me, it's a way for me to escape reality and go into a different dimension and experience things that you can't experience in this dimension. It's weird because when I listen to music, I get lost in time. I transport somewhere else. And the same thing when I listen to stuff that we do. I start listening to things, or it's just weird. I don't know how to explain it. It almost seems like I found a door into a different dimension, and I got addicted to doing it. Just going into a different place. And I love that, to be able to experience something beyond what we can see and beyond what we can hear in the now, and I just, I think it might be a little different for everybody, but personally, that's what I really love about it. And also it's synchronicities as well, where music can, I can find relations to music, certain notes or phrases. Like I had said before, when I would hear Hendrix, I felt like I understood what he was saying to the guitar. It's like I took that language of music and I can use that to understand other people's point of view musically through whatever they write. It's almost like I can understand what they might have been feeling at that time. It's not really like what someone plays or what someone says. It's how they say it or how they do it. The intention behind it is what I'm paying attention to. Because there's guys that I hear or heard that are really good, kinda, but they're lacking something of essence. And that's what I'm attracted to, is like that other part of the dimension. If you can somehow bring it into reality, and if I hear it, I'm like, oh wow, I'll just go into a trance. It seems, but that's what I really love about what music can do for me.
He's on a guitar. It seems like he's desperate to play a solo. What do you think, Tim?
I don't have it plugged in, or else I would.
Actually, the way you always keep using Hendrix as an influence too, I'm always thinking of the lyric from Purple Haze. It's like, excuse me while I kiss the sky.
It's like, hold on, let me. He would do that live. And that's a common blues thing where they would announce to the audience or whoever's listening, like, hold on, I'm saying a whole bunch of crap, but let me play it through the guitar so you can feel it. And that's what I'm very much attracted to, I guess, when it comes to music, because it doesn't have to be blues to where you have to, or where you can convey that type of emotion or feeling through music. It can be in all different genres, and I love all different genres. They're all great in their own way.
All right. We'll get to the genre in a little bit, but I guess, Tim, what is it that you love most about music?
Well, to me, I like the phases in the process, for us to get together and write songs. A lot of the stuff we do, some of those licks that I put in the songs is something that I've been, listening for. It just kind of come to me or whatever. And then we get together and we arrange the music and, put the lyrics in. Kris puts the lyrics in. We go in the studio, we record it, and then our producer interprets all of that and sends us a final mix and everything. And then we get to take that and go out in front of people and play it and see their response. And so it's the full circle of what we do. And it's been most rewarding. I would only play doing our own music. I'm at a point in my life now where I would never play in a cover band or a tribute band. For me, it's all about what we do as a group. And we're excited to do that every night.
Yeah, that's a fun part about music. I think the touring wise, and then trying to get everything set up is always the hard part about it. And then it's always then rewarding too. It's a rewarding experience of being able to play for the fans too. So before I jump into about COVID and everything first, I guess who came up with the name for the band?
I did.
I guess why Engineered Society Project?
Yeah. Engineered Society Project, what it's about. And certainly when we first created the band, it was very obvious when you look on TV and see the changes and what's going on in our country, that the government had an intended outcome for everybody. And that was beginning to play to the masses. And I just thought it was interesting that they would do things that would, once again, instead of America, the land of opportunity, it was becoming more socialist and saying, hey, instead of equal opportunity, it's equal outcome. And it didn't resonate well with me. And, things like taking your guns and all that, living in Texas, that's kind of a important part of our life. We were always raised with guns. I'm from originally Louisiana. So all the things that we saw going on was something that I wasn't happy about, and still not today. And so we basically are saying, hey, government's engineering a society. They want a certain outcome, and we just want to make somewhat that it's call attention to it. Not a political band, it's not a one party or the other. It's just the overall concept of what America's about, and it's about freedom and peace and loving each other and taking care of each other. And we're seeing that declining as time goes on, and that was why we named the band. That's why I named the band what I did.
ESP as well, yeah. Actually, I needed to somehow do the end. That would have been like ESPN, like how the channel was. So that's all good though. So in terms of political views, it's always best to tread carefully because you don't know if your views will be manipulated in some way too. Yeah. So, but I see what you're saying too. So I'm fully behind you there, mate. So let's jump into COVID right here. So I guess, Kris, can you tell us how bad COVID impacted you, your family, and as well as your music project?
I was actually in Portland, Oregon, and when COVID hit, and I heard it. I was in the store. I heard this Russian security guard talking about this thing and something about chickens. And I was like, this guy is so crazy. And within the next couple days, COVID hit. He actually was talking about some virus that was going to be passed around, and it sounded fictional. And then all of a sudden it was completely insane. And literally having to stay in this house. I stayed in a house. I don't really want to talk about it because they're going to see it, but it was a crazy time. And I had to be locked down in this house in a very uncomfortable situation. So it was, as soon as I'm a regular gym goer, as soon as I could, I was in Portland, Oregon. As soon as I can go to the gym, I would actually ride my bike to Seattle. From Portland, Oregon, I would ride my bike to go to the gym in the middle of wintertime. So literally, just to get out of that house, I would do anything. So COVID was a very, very strange experience, and I think it makes you, once again, it goes back to something terrible, a good thing. It's like, I think you have to have something taken away from you to really appreciate something. So I think it could make you way more appreciative of being free, of being able to leave your house, and also get more aware of, the time of your life, trying to be in the present moment of your life. And there's a song we have coming out, and one of the lyrics is, live for today, don't live for tomorrow. Living in the past or the future is like swimming in sorrow. Literally trying to be in the present moment of your life. When something bad happens, I think it helps you because you go, oh man, I'm going to pass on one lesson my father taught me. I had a very love-hate relationship with my father. Actually, he was my foster father, and I actually wanted to kill him at one point. I wanted to throw him down a staircase. He was very abusive to me. But I think he taught me one of the valuable lessons of my life. He said, if you go in this is what his father taught with him. His father was very mean to him too. And his father taught him that if you go in, it's better than a slap in the belly with a wet fish. You made out well. And that's sort of what I feel like going into life. When you go in expecting something great, and then it's lower than your expectation, you're disappointed. But if you go in slapping the belly with a wet fish, you're always going to come out happy, because usual things are not as bad as a slap in the belly with a wet fish.
All right, I see. All right, Jojo, how about did COVID impact you?
It didn't hit me bad at all. I found it as an opportunity to really go out more, because I was working and got laid off like a week before COVID really hit. So at that time, I was wondering, what in the world am I going to do? But this is the reason why I'm in the band, I think, is because when COVID hit, I was watching the stocks and they were just tanking like crazy. And I'm like, well, something bad's about to happen. I'm just going to post up and just collect my unemployment and just see what's going on in the world. And as you notice, when I'm sitting around, this is in my hand. And I had quit guitar at that time. I think I quit around 2018. So I hadn't played guitar in 2 years. So during COVID, that gave me a chance to really sit every day like I did in high school and just shred wood. That's what I did. And it gave me an opportunity to connect with other musicians who were stuck in the house. They couldn't do anything, just like what Kris was saying, lockdown was crazy, but it didn't stop me. I still socialized. It. If anything, it freed a lot of stuff up for me. Where people were afraid to go out or couldn't go out, I was still doing that. And it gave me an opportunity to really reconnect with other musicians and to pick up guitar and consider doing this full time again. Once again, I don't know anyone who got sick. I had a lot of family members who were freaking out, but I mean, as for like horror stories or anything, nothing, not at all. If anything, that was the time where I was able to really do what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, and get my guitar playing back to par, because I was slacking and lacking in a lot of areas, and I never gave up, and I just kept doing it and kept doing it. And it came a time where I wanted to join a band, and that's how I found Tim. So if it wasn't for COVID, I highly doubt I would have been in this band, and I highly doubt I would have picked up the guitar again after quitting a few times and really taking it serious. So I guess COVID was really a blessing in disguise, and I'm not saying that it was a true blessing. I'm sure there was a lot of people who suffered, and I apologize for all those individuals who had to suffer. I'm just the lucky one who didn't have to deal with any of that, so I guess in my world, it's a different story.
Yeah, I've actually used the term blessing in disguise, because some people, they were able to start careers on say YouTube, for instance, or just get their social media presence rolling, get their music out there and everything else. So, I mean,
absolutely.
I'd say what you're saying too. So it's all good. And it's good to see him pull through. And Tim, I guess, how bad did COVID impact you?
It was interesting. I was working at the time, and I was working in what was deemed to be a federal necessary industry. And so we continued to work. It didn't affect our ability to work. And we had papers that would allow us to go wherever we needed to go. In other words, at one point down here between Louisiana and Texas, they had state police on the borders and all that. But we were able to go as we saw fit. And what I did notice for me and a lot of people, and actually the current members of the band at that time, COVID was a chance to reflect, because I actually know people that passed away, and my sister-in-law was one of them, unfortunately. So it hit home pretty hard, and it helped me refocus on what I really wanted to do, is what we're doing now. And so I count it as a blessing in a way. And I'm like Jojo, my heart goes out to all the people that lost people and dealt with it. I saw it firsthand. it was just very unfortunate, but it did give me an opportunity to refocus the band and make the decision to go a different direction with the members. And as soon as we came out of COVID, Jojo and I immediately went back to California and started recording a new record. And then ultimately we get Kris and Sean and move on. But it was good.
I see. And I'm sorry for your loss. That must have been pretty tough too. And I have known at least some people who were affected by it. I don't know too many who had passed away from it. I do remember actually getting it because of me and my parents. We went to go party in Nashville, so you could probably imagine how that went. So, but it was all good, and it's good to have you around too. And Kris, I'm sorry you had to kind of have a rough upbringing too. So, but it looks like it has made you better and stronger too. So that's all good. And I guess we'll go ahead and jump into the next question right here too. So, Kris, for this one right here, I guess, so what challenges do you guys face being, would you consider yourself still indie musicians, or do you think you've moved past the term indie?
That's a good question. I think I've been in a band ever since I was very young. And to me, it's the same. The biggest show I ever did was for 3 million people. And to me, a show is a show. If I'm playing for the bartender or I'm playing for 3 million people, it's the same thing. It's not exactly the same experience, but to Jojo's point, he's talking through his guitar, and to me, that's sort of spiritual. And I think something happens on stage where you have a chance to merge with what you've practiced, and your mind shuts off. It's very meditative. It's like basically being with no mind. So there is a big time for me where there's 3 million people or there's one person. It's the same thing for me. So I think doing it, no matter how many people are there, no matter how many records sell, no matter how many whatever happens, it's actually the same thing. And it's no different for me than the Rolling Stones. Well, what's the difference? I have a group of guys. We write music together. We produce it. We find a way how to do it. We tour. I don't think there's any difference, and I think it's just like matters of opinion or matters of taste, who likes what kind of music. But I think being a musician at an indie level or a major national level is a state of mind. And obviously there's different things that come from being very, very successful, or struggling to make it. But I think being a musician, the whole process of recording, writing, playing, is something you got to really love to do it in any case.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I can see what you mean too. And also, I think it's funny using the definitely a comparison between the Rolling Stones too, because I always think back to the Keith Richards or the Mick Jagger stories they used to do, just to also keep themselves awake, as well as maybe hyped up and everything too. So you hear about these crazy stories. I think even tragically, I think it was Keith Richards who actually snorted his dad's ashes just to get high or something.
What?
I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. It was something like that. It was something along those lines. He was like, "Sorry, Dad," sort of thing. I mean,
that's crazy.
I mean, don't take my word for it. I recommend researching it too, but I think it was something along those lines. So, strongly recommend it. It's definitely a good story too. So, all right. And Jojo, I guess what challenges you face being a guitar player? I guess you're also the lead guitar player. So, I guess what challenges do you face being that?
Being both. It's really hard to really look at it that way. Like I said, it's, as a guitarist or musician, it's just what you do. I mean, I know there might be challenges, and the only challenges I can think physically as a guitarist is keeping my chops up, and staying somewhat motivated to do what we do and not try to copy what others do. And I think, when you're an independent artist, you want to succeed and be able to play in front of a lot of people and have the coolest shows to play or whatever. So looking at what everybody else does and what their methods are, and sometimes creep into what you do, and you start saying, well, I need to be more like them, or I need to be more like them. And the moment you do that, you're already sacrificing your art. because it's no longer you anymore. You're trying to be something you're not. And authenticity, I think, is very important as a musician, or just at least for myself, like I'm saying from the beginning why I play guitar. It's not because I want to be a guitarist. I'm trying to use it as a tool. So that's all I'm really doing, is using it as a tool to speak. And that part can just be challenging in itself. But also trying to relay that information to other members can sometimes be an issue. But luckily, this band is full of highly talented musicians who understand the language of music. So the transition of ideas is very, very smooth and very easy. And I've had issues with that in the past with other musicians. It's one of the reasons why I quit too. Because I'm like, you know what? I hate being the only guy who can work with other people, but other people can't work with me because they don't know how to, vibe. But here we have something going. So I would have to say I'm having a very easy time doing this with this group, and I feel blessed to be able to do that. And as long as it's easier this way, I think we can conquer a lot, because as much as it might be easy on our end, whatever challenges we might have, we have enough energy reserved to attack it and do what we need to do. Now, if we had issues and then tried to, attack whatever would come our way, I don't think we would have it in us to do it. And I think that's why some bands, they quit or whatever and have their issues. But I would have to say, from my perspective, I think there aren't any really challenges as much, other than maybe logistics or the finances or whatnot, the tangible stuff. But when it comes to the art itself and dealing with other like-minded individuals, that stuff's really easy.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. And I guess, Tim, would you say trying to be unique and as well as different from other musicians, would you say that's probably the biggest challenge you face?
Well, for me, I'm kind of like the rest of the guys. Internally with the band, we've got great musicians. Kris is great on singing and all that. So we're very blessed to have each other. And I think we recognize that. The challenges that we have, or that I have, is the interface with the promoters and people that are talking to us about doing stuff, the financial challenges of what's required to put the band in a different country or whatever, and the shows, the pressure to bring the numbers to the shows, to sell the tickets. That's just the business side of it. But as far as the playing the music, writing the songs, recording, it's sweet.
Yeah, absolutely too. And Sean couldn't be here today, so I guess who was the one who brought Sean along? Was it who brought them into the band? I guess, Tim, was that you or Kris, Joe? Who was it?
It was a decision between Tim and I believe, because we were looking for a drummer who could do the things that we need him to do. And that's also really hard. Like I was saying, when you have people who say they can play an instrument, and yes, there are a lot of people who can play an instrument or people who can sing, but at what level? And finding just top level musicians is very, very difficult. But I think we had auditioned 3 drummers at that time. And then Tim presented Sean. I'm like, okay, well, let's see if we can do our music talk. And that was one thing I really liked about Sean, is that he was in drum corps. And when I was in band, that was like the next step. Like once you graduate and you go, like you've made it as whatever it is. And he was a percussionist, so I already knew he has to be badass if that's what he did. And just talking to him about rudiments or just music and just geeking out on that, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy is it. Like we'll have no issues with anything musical with him, but it was a blessing to have him in it. Because like I said, the other drummers, they're good. They just lack that. I don't know what it is. There's just something that's just original. Something where, just like you were saying, being born with the guitar in your hand, it was almost like he was born with sticks in his hand. So and that's what we need to be able to move forward in a professional manner and really just tackle everything and feel like you can conquer the world with your music.
I probably would have made the joke saying like he was moving around in the womb too much, so you knew he was going to be a drummer or something like that.
Yeah.
That's all good. So, all right. It's good to be definitely unique and definitely. How would you describe like your music genre, I should say? Because you guys said you're kind of influencing like some of the '80s sort of style music. So I guess I don't know who wants to answer because I'm imagining it's Tim putting it all together.
I would say, for me personally, and the good thing about this band is that we write together, and it's kind of like we all bring something to the song that makes it unique. We have our own unique style because that's the way we approach it. And obviously, I'm probably the senior member of the band. And so the influences for me come from things that I was raised up with, a long, long time ago, longer than I care to admit. And I've had the good fortune of playing with some very fine drummers. And, you're a product of your own past in a way. And so each of us individually has brought something to the music, to the vocals, to the lyrics, and it's unique. And we're able to recreate that in different forms. And so we feel like we have our own unique sound, and we just hope and pray that people like it. And it seems like they do, because I don't know if they didn't like it, I don't know what else we would do, because this is just what we do and how we do it. And we're working hard to keep producing that and being better and advancing our talent as best we can.
And Kris, was there something you wanted to add?
No. I completely agree with that. I think I sort of wanted to simplify it, because when you're an original band, this is the first time actually our label is Mindsnap Music / Combat Records. And basically, I've been such an eclectic artist over the years. I've done so many different types of music that literally time where hard rock, metal, that type of music was a genre that fit me for this time of my life. But I completely agree with Tim. It's a very creative, and I'm very appreciative for the creativity, because, and also bouncing off and everybody writing. I think it's just a very creative situation. But overall, I would think, to your question, I think it would be hard rock metal that we are. That would be what would be classified as, I think.
I mean, hey, at this point, you just say it's just rock, baby. Or some of the times, because I've interviewed a good number of metal musicians already, be like, it's just metal, baby, that sort of thing. So, actually, I kind of took that from the Al Davis quote. It's like, just win, baby, that sort of thing. So, hey, you find inspiration just wherever you go to. So, I mean, everything could be an inspiration source. And I guess speaking of which, I guess what are your lyrics really about too? I guess they kind of vary a little bit, because the way Tim kind of described like the whole band name and everything too, it sounds like you got some little political references. So I guess Kris, if you want to go, and then everyone else wants to jump in afterwards, go ahead.
I came into the band, I learned every single song, and I could feel where Tim was coming from, and I sort of felt like meeting him in the middle was easy, because I saw things that were wrong. And the big thing that I think that I accentuate that with is that I don't just want to point out things that are wrong. I want to try to point out solutions in a world of pain, in a world of people putting money over human values or whatever wrongs we see. I just don't want to point out the problem. I want to try to make some solutions. Love is one solution. I'm also big into helping people eliminate the stress from their life. So literally, not just complaining, because if we all just stand and complain about stuff, then it's just a bunch of complaining. And I hear a lot of that, and that sort of bores me after a while if people are just going to talk about the problems, because we all know. It's not like everybody doesn't know that there's corruption here, that there's this here, that other people are bad. And when you're pointing one finger at somebody, there's 4 fingers pointing back at yourself, where it's a flawed situation. Being a human being is a flawed situation. And I see myself in other people, because I've made many mistakes in my life. So when I see somebody making mistakes, I go, yeah, I've made mistakes too. So I much rather see the world as one world family and try to be part of the solution. In my poetry, or in my contribution to the band, I try to give a sense of, here it is, my TV is trying to kill me, kill your TV, but I try to give a sense that we're trying to get together as a one world family and try to find some solutions of coming together, feeling like love conquers all, feeling like there is a problem, but yeah, man, it's not hopeless. It's like we're here and we have choices, man. We have choices to choose love or death. Kill somebody or try to find a solution smartly, or, calm down, find the silence in yourself and try to find some solutions here. Search for yourself. What's your contribution to the world that can help it become a place of peace and harmony?
I would say, yeah, the world definitely needs more of that. I mean, you even turn on like the news media, for instance, it's just constant this and that too. Whole thing in Israel, maybe some bit of Ukraine, and then it always goes back to big Donald Trump and the whole drama he's kind of throwing himself in right now too. So not too sure what to make of it, but it's too much now.
Bryan, my big thing is this, is that I really feel as a singer, I'm speaking to myself as an 11-year-old kid. I was out there running wild. I was a crazy, wild, ultra-violent kid, and I was lost. And a lot of times when I step up to that microphone or I step up to this situation, I find myself talking to myself, but really the self that was back there, that was in pain, that was lost, that wasn't connected to anything. So really, if there was something that I wanted from my music, it would be to touch, almost see myself in other people and touch that part of myself that I see in them, either the mistakes or the good things they've done. Reach out to them and help them, because I've been blessed. I've been blessed to be in a great band. I've been blessed to find myself and be able to survive in life and be happy. And I want to reach out to that 11-year-old that I was and help him on his path.
I would say probably the only difference now is he's now frozen cuss words that he probably wouldn't have thrown in when he was a typical 11-year-old afterwards. So, and probably some other words too, because actually, I forget how old I was, but I was like trying to start writing lyrics when I was real little too, and it really made no sense either. I think I was listening to that punk band Bush too much, and there wasn't like any sort of rhythm to the lyrics or anything like that too. It was just like one thing after that. It was just like, here's a line, then here's another line. It was like, that's probably what I was thinking of too. And so I guess, do you know about Bush and the song Machine Head?
Yeah. It's like you say, it's sort of random type of ideas.
The lyrics seem random. There's not really like a story behind it, if you know what I mean too. So you know what I mean when you read it too, or at least listen to your music. It still works. So I mean, that's the funny thing about it.
And really, more than that, I think life is about where you're coming from. I think it's like a tree. When you plant a seed, the apple, it came from that seed. So really, where you're coming from, I think, is very important. I think, if you're coming from it, and man, I'm here to destroy this place, that's what the fruit that your tree is going to possess. But if you come from a real desire to be part of change, to be part of something good, and I never want to do it in a hokey way. Like I'm talking to that 11-year-old kid that I was, and that hope that when I was an 11-year-old kid, I would not listen to it in either a preachy or a corny way. So that's really why I like the sort of heavy aspect to our music, because I want it to be viable to somebody who's like I was. And I was into heavy music, and I was into hardcore punk. So that aspect of our music that is heavy and, in your face saying, look, in a blind world, here's the problem, but it's love that can't be seen. That's the lyric. The lyric is, in a blind world, madness abounds. In a blind world, the soul cannot be found. In a blind world, it's a world of tyranny, but it is love, true love that we cannot see. So basically here I've stated the problem, but I'm saying, look, man, if it's blind, open your eyes and see that love conquers all. See that love is the answer. See that it's calming down and making these decisions before you do violence. It's calming down and making, even to the world, man. It's like, look, man, you've divided these lines for your country. You've said, this is mine, this is mine. And then there's a war that started, trying to see it as a one world family and stop these wars and stop this, and really, like I said to my 11-year-old, it's to help him find peace inside, because I had no peace inside when I was younger.
Amen to that. And I guess, did you have some friends that kind of helped you along too at certain parts of your life, or your wife or anything?
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, literally, I have had a blessed spiritual life. There have been very, very profound spirits in my life. Most of my spirits, I had no father. I only had a foster father later on in my life, and I had a bad relationship with him. But the mentors or the lights in my life were my martial art teachers. They were people that were sent to me they taught me honor, respect, discipline, and they taught me this. They taught me one world family. They taught me connectedness. So I'm so grateful for the lights of my life, man, that led me to this place.
I see. And amen to that. It's good to have you around here, Kris. And I would say, Tim, I did see your message right there too. So I guess you have to hop up with the call pretty soon.
Yeah, let me unmute here. Yeah, I've got to take my wife to a dinner across town. So, but I wanted to take a second before I hopped off and thank you for taking the time to talk to us. As you can see, we are, a group of guys that are well connected and on one page as far as what we're doing. And we feel very blessed, and our music is reaching people all over, certainly in times of the internet and all of the new technology that's out there. We're able to reach around the world. And so our goal is to take this music around the world. And so we're not going to stop. We're going to keep going. And 2023 was a big year for Engineered Society Project, and 2024 is looking to be just as big, if not bigger. So we're very excited about that. I'm sorry I have to leave, but I have to take my wife. But thank you so much. And you guys, y'all can finish the interview and really y'all take care. And I will see you guys in a few days here in Houston.
All right. So Timmy hopped off right there, and we're just going to continue on with Kris and Jojo here. So Jojo, kind of going back to the previous question, I think it was more about the music in general too, I guess. Do you contribute any lyrics, or are you just strictly doing more of the guitar work and everything?
All music, man. I'm not a lyricist in any way. I don't really pay attention to that kind of stuff. And like, I have this way of muting lyrics or just vocals and music mentally. Like when I played or learned guitar back in the day, there was no tabs. There were, but they were wrong. There was no YouTube then. So I learned how to play the majority of the stuff that I liked, like Metallica and Hendrix stuff, by ear. And the best way for me to really listen to the guitars and stuff was to somehow tone out the vocals. And I just have that ability, and it's stuck with me to this day. So when I listen to music, even to this day, I know vocal melodies, but I don't know what in the world people are saying. So that's like my crutch, it seems like. I'm not a perfect guy. So if you ever want to have something on me, be like, well, I guarantee you, Jojo doesn't know the lyrics to any of his favorite songs. And that's probably right.
It's like, Kris, he just insulted you, man. Oh, man.
No, actually, I'll really be honest with you. I actually want to answer this question for Jojo. Basically, Jojo talks through his guitar, and I made this little thing on Facebook, and his stage name is Vitesse, and you definitely, like, he talked about Hendrix or whatever, and it does make me think about Hendrix, because you feel, and actually that's something you can't explain why. Like, why is it you go, damn, it's like he's talking through his guitar. And all I can say, and I can't even explain that either, and that's really, I'll tell you the truth, that's really what I like about music, is the things that you can't explain. Like, I can't explain why when I am on stage with Jojo that I'm like, wow. But I've been on stage with musicians like that before, where it's like I can feel the energy more than I could even think about it. I can't really tell you why. And all I can tell you is that I have my same relationship with the lyrics. I have my same relationship with the melody. What he's talking about is that he's invested into the vibration of what he's experiencing and what he's putting out. And that's the same thing that I have with lyrics. I when I write it and I sing it, I can feel it in my belly, I can feel it in my soul, and it vibrates. And that's as much as I can explain it. I think it's not really explainable. When you see Jimi Hendrix burning his guitar, what can you explain about it? you can say that it's not perfect. You can say that it's not, there's some things you can't even say about it. It's not describable. It's magic, or it's the real good thing about music, and that's what I think it is. And I think that's what music should be.
Well, let me add that a little bit, because that's one thing I do like about Kris is it's not really what he's saying, but it's how he says what he says. He means what he's saying when he's singing. And like I had said before, with musicians, it's not what you're saying exactly. It's your intention with it, the intent. And that's what I guess what he's saying, like the vibration. I sense that more than anything, and I can sense it in him. So in a sense, it's like, that's all I really look for, is that vibration. It's something that can't be explained, and it's not really, it's not like the note somebody's playing or the drum beat they're playing. There's something behind it, that's driving that. And that's one thing I like about Kris, is that he has that. And from the beginning, when we were auditioning vocalists, that was one of the main things that got my attention with him, is like I've said this before, is the soulfulness in his voice. Like, it's coming from a very authentic place. There is no filter there. It's just him, and that's one thing that I know, that if you could ever get that on stage, people would really be able to resonate with that on a deeper level, deeper than just the lyrics itself, because it's coming from a place that is real.
I do have to ask, do you always do the music first and then throw in the lyrics afterwards? Or have you tried doing it vice versa?
We do both. Sometimes it'll be music, and then we'll present it, and then lyrics get put up, or it's presented with lyrics and then we write to it. So we do a combination of different ways of writing music. We don't have a set formula. I mean, we have a formula, but how we present stuff to each other is not. There is no formula. There's no and that's what I meant by having top tier musicians, because we all have ideas, but to me, it's how do you vocalize these things in a way for us to truly understand where you're coming from? And that's one thing that we have that I haven't seen in years. And so that's why I say I feel 100% thankful to be in this group and have these guys, this lineup, because I don't think it would work any other way, and if it did, it wouldn't be what we are, so that's why I say, as long as everybody has something to say in their own way and they mean it, man, we can conquer the world with that, with just the vibration itself. And then when you add all the other stuff on top of it, man, I'm like, you there's no competition with that, man.
Is that like a multi-layered sandwich? What were you gonna say, Kris?
So I'll give you an insight into like the relevant process right now. Shaka, that's Sean Salinas' nickname, our drummer, called me, and he told me he had this idea, and he can't really sing, and he just went da 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 da. So I took that, and actually it made me think of this idea I had a long time ago. So Shaka had hit his idea, he called me, then he brought it back, and I told him my ideas that were inspired by his ideas. Then he showed it to Jojo. Then Jojo took it, and they played it for Tim, and then they made a rough draft. And right now I have the rough draft. So literally, it can go any way. It can go from, the drummer has a beat idea. The bass player has an old song that he wanted to put out. Basically, Batiste has songs. And you mentioned this once, Batiste, and I actually invite this. Batiste says he has some songs that he's already worked out. I actually would be excited to work on that, put some vocals over it. So we're really, I get excited about creation. Take nothing, and then what's the process of turning it into something? And I think it's, again, that sort of really undescribable place of what really music is. Like, it is a spirit. Like, at the end of the day, the heroes are gone. Jimi Hendrix is gone. Jimi Hendrix isn't here anymore. He doesn't get the accolades. The person Jimi Hendrix doesn't get the accolades for what he did or what he accomplished. But there is this sound that is here that he left. And that is something that you can't describe, and why it turns you on or why you get off on it. I don't think there are words you can really put to you. It just is. And I like Jojo, I really appreciate being in that process of, I've said magic a lot of times. I'm not sure if it's, I think magic is the only way it's magic in my life.
Yeah.
Maybe wonder that if you were a magician at some point. Abracadabra. Oh, we lost the microphone. There we go. It goes all over the place. Actually, I hit my microphone. It went flying there. Okay. We're all good, though. Oh, were you going to say something else, or were you just...
Nope.
Okay, sorry. All right, and I did want to kind of get into this one, too, because I assume Tim is the one that kind of does the production and everything together, too. But if you guys want to throw anything you know about the gear that you use, I guess, Kris, go first. What kind of gear do you use? And I guess if you want to elaborate on anything else, go ahead.
That is a question for Jojo. Completely.
All right. I guess if I get to talk about his guitar, too, and also throwing out, what sort of picks do you use?
I actually have it right here. It's a Jim Dunlop Jazz 3, but they're the extra large. They're the big ones. You can see that. Jim Dunlop X. So they have a bigger bite than the little Jazz 3s. I used to use the little Jazz 3s, but I don't know. I felt like they were slipping around in my hand too much. But yeah, I guess when it comes to gear, man, I mean, for me, I use mainly Ibanez, but this guitar obviously is not an Ibanez, as you can see. It's a it's not a real ESP. It's the LTD, but this is the Kirk Hammett signature series. Kirk Hammett was a huge influence of mine back in those days in high school. For live, I use Marshall, the JCM 2000. But if we're going to move around a lot like we have, I use a very interesting setup. I use this laptop, and I have the Neural DSP, or what do you call it? Those fucking plugins. I have the Gojira one, and I have the Soldano one, and I use the Soldano one for our group. And I have an interface on the ground. I have it behind me. I don't know if I should grab it, but yeah, I keep it simple and light because I'm really trying to chase that tone, and I can plug direct into the house with it instead of having to rely on them miking up the amp and all that stuff and losing stage volume. What else? That's about it for me. I'm trying to keep it simple, simply because it's even with like this guitar is beat to hell. I'm very rough with my instruments, and my precious instruments I don't want to bring on stage. So the 7-string that I have is a 7-string that I've had for years, and I don't care about it getting beat up, but now I'm starting to really fall in love with it because it's done me so well. It has it's a 7-string, the Iron label, and it has I think EMG. They're not 707s. I forgot which EMGs they are, but it's a really nice guitar. And I can't even tell you what Tim uses. Tim uses some super boutique stuff, like stuff I've never heard of that's super crazy expensive. You know, so I can't speak for him.
I was lost as soon as you said Precious, too, because it's almost like holding that Precious instrument, too. It's like Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Did you ever watch Lord of the Rings back in the day?
A little bit, yeah. No, this thing, all my guitars are replaceable, man. I don't own any guitars from high school, not even my first guitar. I would just give them away. If you felt like you wanted to learn how to play and you just didn't have an instrument, I was that guy who would just give you one. Like, oh, here, take this one. I don't really care about it. Boom. And I would do the same with these, maybe, if I had friends like that still. But I do have a handful of guitars I would not part with. And those guitars I don't even want to touch. They stay in their cases. I won't even look at them. And I want to forget that they exist because I may want to play them, and then there you go. I bring them out on stage and somebody steps on it, and you know, who knows. So I try to keep the cheapy stuff with me.
I was saying it's going to be like what you see at the Hard Rock too. It's like all the guitars and everything's in their nice little case and everything too.
Yeah. Actually, let me grab one. It's right next to me.
All right. I guess in the meantime, Kris, what sort of advice would you give to other musicians in our indie community, and I guess musicians also trying to pick it up as well?
The advice I'd give them came from today's podcast. And look at Jojo's guitar. I'd say go see Jojo Brown for one. And then, but really what I would say is that, just like you said in the podcast today, listen to today's podcast. And really, to me, what today's podcast said is be real. I know exactly where I'm talking from. I know exactly what I want to do. And it's not going to come instantaneously. It took me some time to really find out how to talk from my being, how to talk about the real nookie wookie, like really the essence of who I am. And really, I think that's your search. As an original musician, that's your search. It's your search to find your center and then see if you can speak from there. And it's taken me a long time. If there's anything that I can't do, if someone doesn't like my voice, someone doesn't like my presentation, someone doesn't like whatever about me, they can never say that I'm not being honest. I'm trying to be as honest as I can about my life experience and about who I am. So that's what I relate through music, because I am a song. I was sung long ago. I echo in the mountains and the valley below. I truly believe this is actually sort of a vision I had one time. I think I'm on a come here. Yo, my boy just walked in the gym. Look out here. It's my boy Roberto.
What's up, brother?
It's my boy Roberto. Say hi.
Hey, welcome to the podcast, mate. Shout out to Roberto. How you doing, brother?
It's the podcast. That's my guitar player. That's Jojo Brown. This is bryan.gribbin, and we're doing a podcast right here. I just wanted to choose for my boy, man. That's my real brother. Like my hardcore, my brother. So yeah, man. All right, I'll talk to you. Find the essence. I think Jojo mentioned it earlier. Like you'll hear it, or you heard other people, and you're going, "Yeah, he's good, man. He technically gets it. It sounds right, but I don't feel it." And really, when I walked in the room with specifically Jojo, Engineered Society Project on a whole, I felt it. I felt what Tim was talking about. But when Jojo starts playing, he talks to my soul. I love being on stage with Engineered Society Project, but specifically Jojo. And I've told my friends about Jojo. Jojo's like this quiet Southern guy, and you'd never know that he was Batiste. You'd never freaking know who he really is, because it's a different vibration. Because me and Jojo are friends. Like Jojo Brown is my friend, but Batiste is another dude. I actually just wrote this thing, and I don't even know if he likes that or not. But Batiste is completely this other guy. And when people have asked us, like, what are our rituals we do before the things, and I don't see him do any ritual to get to Batiste. He just walks on stage, and as soon as he's on stage, I don't even think he knows it. There's this other thing that is there, and I appreciate it because I'm the same way. I can I've been doing it. I've done this all over the world. So if I was to take myself outside myself, as soon as we're in that ritual of presenting our hearts to the world, he is Batiste and I am the prophet of the fire. There's no Kris Keys, there's no Jojo Brown there. It's nowhere to be found. And one time, actually, because Jojo's with me, I'm talking about this. He talked about a picture he was looking at about himself on stage, and he was like, "Wow, that guy almost looks like a different person." And I will walk off stage many times, or I will look at things and I'll go, "Wow, I'm not even like that." That's not even. I'm definitely not thinking, or I'm not planning on doing that. It's just soul talk, or it's the vibration that's there.
That's pretty cool. You know what I was always tempted to say when your buddy Roberto just came right in and was be like, "We pause right now on the podcast for a special bromance moment." That sort of thing.
That's my boy, man. That's my boy, dude. He's a big, huge dude, and
he's a big mother.
He'll be my body. When we hit the lotto, he'll be my bodyguard. You'll meet him, Roberto. Roberto will take care of me because he actually looks out for me like that. But he's like that. He also loves the music too, and he'll be one of the people that walk in front of me. And if someone messes around, they're gonna have a bad time with Roberto.
You just be like, "Don't fuck with me, man," that sort of thing.
No, you're gonna get your neck broken, man.
Yeah. He'll be your bouncer. That's what it'll do.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's cool. I want to get into nicknames in just a second too, but Jojo, for the question was, what sort of advice would you give to musicians who are indie musicians or up and coming musicians, I should say?
Very similar to what Kris said. I mean, you have to be very authentic, and I think a lot of musicians try to, but if you're trying to do this for attention or to get chicks or something, I mean, you're gonna get burnt out real quick. It has to be something that's truly in you. Like if you heard Kris's story, I mean, he's basically born to do this, and he was, as a child, in a sense, trained to be a performer. So it's naturally to see Kris do that to this day and forever. And the same thing with me. I mean, I had a musical gift that I really didn't know was a gift until I was put in band and stuff, and I just used those things to my advantage. And I think as a up and coming artist and or musician, you have to play into your strengths. You have to and one of the ways to do it is to figure out who you are as a person. You have to find that inner self and work on that before you start trying to conquer the world, because the world will start stripping things away from you. It'll expose you for who you really are. And if you're not ready for that, I mean, you're just gonna deal with a lot of crap. But I would just say personally, music is almost like my religion, I guess you would say. Like, that's what I believe in. So it might be a different way of thinking and seeing things. And I don't think everybody thinks that way. I'm just kind of explaining it from my perspective, because I think what I'm doing is different from most people, because I talk to a lot of guitar players and they don't do what I do for the same reasons that I do it. So I'm just speaking for those who might be able to resonate with what I'm saying, is just work on who you are as a person and try to be as authentic as possible, because it's going to come out through your music. And I think that's what most people want to see. They want to see the authentic self. And maybe on stage being Batiste or whatever is the authentic self. I don't know. I think it's just a transformation. I think we have the ability to transform when you're using art. And that's what happens, I think, with me, is I'm using, like I said, I use this as a tool. And as I'm using this tool, I get to evolve into something else using this tool. But if you strip it away from me, I mean, this is all you get, Jojo Brown and whatnot. But if you, I guess, read up on any successful artist that's been very creative, you might hear very similar things, and that's why a lot of awesome artists are very eclectic and sometimes hard to deal with, because they're just in a different world, man. But I mean, if you're really wanting to do this, just do it. Just do it. You'll never know. You never know where it'll take you. You never know the opportunities that come. And I think we all do the same thing, which is just we want to express ourselves using art, and that's what art is. It's an expression. So just use it. Use it for the good, though. That's what I'm trying to say.
Definitely is pretty good. Though I have to admit, I think chicks are starting to dig the drummers nowadays. So.
Oh yeah, I know.
I mean, hey, the drummers are the ones who are keeping the beat for you. They're the ones keeping you in line. That's something too.
Hell yeah.
Right.
So that's all good. And I guess it seemed like there's what I call like disassociation whenever you're like on stage or you pick up the instrument, for instance, like in the case of Jojo. So I guess whoever wants to talk about the nicknames first, I guess who came up with them, and I guess you just roll with them ever since. Is it kind of like about to be a disassociation from like who you really were, kind of like what Bruce Wayne and Batman or Clark Kent and Superman are like?
I'd say so. I mean, my nickname was given to me, both of them. I mean, Jojo Brown is a nickname. That's not my government name. So it's funny, I have like all these different names that people give me, but I keep them because it's almost like that's the title or a name someone gives you because that's what they envision. And then it becomes who they think. When you say Jojo Brown, they're going to think the musician type guy. If you say John Nelson, which is my real name, you're going to think of me in a work environment or my family. You know me from a different place. But if you hear Batiste, then you really, really know me as a specific guitar player, you know, and very few people know me by that name. I guess that's my newest nickname. But yeah, I think, you know, those are just names people give you. You know, you don't choose them. I didn't choose any of my names. If anything, I wouldn't have a damn name. But yeah, I don't think there's anything special or a specific meaning with any of my names. It's just, you know, a name that just popped up. And maybe there is. I haven't really researched any of my nicknames to really see if there's some type of deeper meaning. And maybe I'm going to do that whenever we get off, because maybe Jojo Brown means something I don't know and Batiste knows, you know. But personally, I don't think it means anything to me.
All right, and Kris, do you got a nickname?
Yeah, I have many nicknames. Nomad is Nomad is like Batiste. It's like a nickname people gave me. But actually, the nickname that I relate to is the Prophet of the Fire. That's like a nickname. And it's interesting. I'm sitting here thinking where it came from, and I didn't even remember. So I had like an Obi-Wan Kenobi in my life. There was this guy who was like he was my martial art teacher, and he taught me about meditation, and he taught me meditation. And his name, he didn't want his ego to get in the way of his life. So he used to call himself Plain Old Franklin, P-O-F. And so Plain Old Franklin was like my Obi-Wan Kenobi. He was like my teacher of meditation. And when I got into Gargantua Soul, I was so influenced by him, and I was so grateful that he had helped me with my depression, with focusing my life, with trying to get healthy, all these different things, that I wrote a song called Prophet of the Fire, and people started calling me that, and I sort of enjoyed it because I like fire, and for me, the symbol of fire is to burn things down so something new can be there. And so I consider the fire that I use a blue fire. So it's the fire of knowledge, not the fire of just destroying something to ashes, but actually a blue fire which burns down the old hatred, the old anger, the walls that stand between us, so we can build knowledge, so we can build wisdom, that we can build a one world family. So I am, and forever shall be, the mother freaking Prophet of the Fire. And I'd use another word, but this is a podcast.
I would say, hey, you can go ahead and swear too. We got First Amendment rights, so it's all good. Actually, I think mine was actually kind of funny. It actually started way back in 7th grade. It was actually my history teacher who had introduced my nickname, Gribbs, and it just always stuck. I mean, I always loved it too.
What is it?
Gribbs.
Gribbs?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I mean, I also got called Manatee at one point too. That was actually freshman year of college. So
Manatee?
Yeah, Manatee.
Manatee, it's a manatee. Now I like Gribbs, man. Gribbs.
Yeah. Also, it's funny what you were saying, Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of moment, because I'm just picturing that mentor of yours who's like teaching meditation. He's like, "Hello there, Kris," or something like that.
Yeah,
the old-fashioned.
He was hard ass, man. He was not. The lessons he taught me were very, very hard earned. He used to have me like carry these. It was like a martial art movie, dude. He lived in a hotel, and he used to make me carry these jugs of water up and down these. It was hard, man, and he wasn't nice about it either. He actually was a mean. A lot of my martial art teachers, it was a tough love type thing that helped me out, and he was definitely very tough love, man. Very tough love. He didn't whip me like some of my other martial art teachers did. Some of my other martial art teachers physically were brutal, but hey, man, when you're in competition, people aren't giving you a back rub. So literally, it was like they were teaching me how to, and for life, they were teaching me how to deal with life. But they gave me much, much more than that. They basically gave me mentorship, like I said, honor, discipline, respect. I didn't have any of those things. I was a crazy, ultra-violent, wild kid, and they focused me and they basically taught me meditation. They taught me to calm down, and they taught me to focus my energy.
That's very good to hear. Those type of people you do need in your life, though. I don't know about having like the harsh kind of lifestyle, I guess, whatever he was kind of teaching you, but I would say I've always liked those ones who don't wear like the emotions on their sleeve, but they have like the soft edge right here too. So that's where I say it really matters the most. So that guy's not teaching hard lessons.
He never showed his soft edge, and some of my best teachers never did. And it's funny. You would think you would want someday to go, hey man, why don't we just, nah man. So some of my teachers, and I think I was harder headed than most. I think that I needed like some kicks in the butt to get to where I am now, to get disciplined, to have some honor in my life, to have respect for, different things, so I didn't end up in prison, man.
Yeah, that would probably alter the story a little bit too. Otherwise, we would ruin the happy ending where we end up with engineered Project Society. So,
yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So we did breeze through the questions pretty good here. I guess let's jump through some fun ones right now, and then I guess we'll see if we come up with any more along the way here. So I guess for the first one, and Kris, you can go first. What would you consider as your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, I have like a trilogy. What I would say my favorite movies are Jaws, Halloween, and probably Goodfellas. And let me try to pick a favorite from that. And for me, I've been in movies, so I think I'm really critical. I think Jaws is my favorite movie.
Donna, 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 Donna. That whole thing.
So scary, man.
I know. It was like, or the whole quote, like, we're going to need a bigger boat. That's all good. And Jojo?
Hey, it's funny because usually I would say The Matrix, but a different movie popped up in my head that I remember watching as a child and it had a huge impact on me, and that's Legends of the Fall.
Wow.
That one, I really liked the message, everything about it. Just, I think that's what's lacking, I think, these days, is there's the message in the movie that you can relate to. But I could relate to that as I got older and watched it. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, this is a combination of a lot of things I've seen just in a modern world. But yeah, that movie resonates with me. Anytime it comes on TV, I sit there and I just watch it. And I don't know. I love the acting. I love the scenery. I love the message, the tragedy, and the love in it, and the accomplishments. And it's just like this, it's everything, life, like the ups and downs, everything. I like that kind of stuff. Realism.
I'll have to check it out because I don't know if I ever heard about that one before. It's always funny when you look back at certain movies too, when you get nostalgia, but then it's like, they actually put that in a kid's movie or something like that.
No, it was an adult movie. It's rated R. It came out in the 90s. So I was a kid when that was happening. My grandmother used to watch it all the time. So I don't know, maybe something rubbed off on me watching it as a kid, but I remember watching it when I was in the late teens. I'm like, holy shit, this is it. Like, just growing up and, and dealing with people and just going through life at that age, I could see the similarities, and even to this day, I have it on my Amazon account where I bought it. I have to support, that's a movie that really taught me a lot. But yeah, I would have to say it's usually The Matrix, but that one for some reason just popped up in my head.
I always picture The Matrix. The whole thing with the meme was just like, and the bullets just flying over top.
I like the message in that movie too. It's like people.
That is true.
Keeping, if you have that desire to want more out of life, sometimes you gotta step outside the box. And when you do, and you see some stuff, you will never be able to go back to reality or whatever the reality used to be. You'll forever be changed. And yeah, there's a lot of similarities in that movie too that resonate with me. But I remember coming out I was a teenager then, and I had the VHS to that, and I had a sound system in my room and everything. I would just 100% be immersed in that movie. I don't watch it anymore because it'll get me thinking again and going down those rabbit holes and stuff, and I don't feel like going down there. I'm fine now. I don't need to learn all these crazy conspiracies and stuff, but I'm fine.
We're living in the Matrix, and the machines have already taken over. We're living in pods and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't even, you got me thinking again.
Yeah. Actually, it was a pretty good horror kind of story too. But yeah, you're right. Definitely having messages, but also relatable characters too. Even like the villains, for instance, definitely make movies great. So, right. And for the next one, Kris, what would you say is your favorite food?
My favorite food, kale.
Kale?
Yeah.
Oh man, actually that's the first one too. And I remember my nephews were always sticking to that originally. So then I guess Jojo. Salmon.
Oh, I love salmon.
Salmon's my favorite. Yeah, I would say other things like vegetables and stuff, but I think about a food that I always crave and I can never get enough of is salmon. Everything else like beef, chicken, potatoes, green beans, kale, all that stuff, I'll eat it because I know there's nutritional value in some way, but salmon, I don't even care how it's cooked. I'll eat it out of a can, smoked, baked. It's just whatever. I'm just tearing it up.
I would say I have like the salmons where they have like the crab meat stuffed into the middle of it too.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's absolute heaven.
When it comes to crab meat, I prefer to eat crab by itself. I don't like mixing it. But I mean, for the taste, it can help. But I'm just one of those purists where I don't like mixing meat. So I like to eat my meat or my protein. If it can have the fat source in it, good. And then also my carbs, and I'll mix it together. But meats, I don't like mixing the meats too much. I'm a weirdo like that. Like bacon wrapped something like chicken or whatever. I'm like, no, just take the damn bacon off. I want one or the other. I don't want it all together.
I would say we do have bacon wrapped stuffed jalapenos at the restaurant I work at. Actually very good. And we put like a little caramel sauce on it. So.
Oh yeah, I like those too. The jalapeno poppers.
Yeah. It's something along those lines, but I think the jalapeno poppers are more the deep fried ones. These ones are just like your straight peppers, and then you just wrap bacon around it.
Wrap it. Okay. And you put it on the grill or something?
Actually, microwave first, and then you finish it off by cooking it on the stove with the caramel.
Okay. Yeah, I never had it with the caramel. I'm not a caramel fan. I don't like candy. That's another thing. I hate candy with a passion.
Well, then you were not very good at Halloween. I think that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And for the next question right here, I guess, do you guys drink at all in terms of alcohol?
I don't.
He doesn't. And Jojo?
Occasionally. I mean, like for social reasons, like if I have people coming over, I'll drink with them, but not really. I mean, I take that back. When we went to Europe, they have some awesome beer, and I hate beer, but everyone was drinking beer. I'm like, well, I want to try what's going on. They've perfected the art of brewing beer and stuff, so let me taste it, and it was mind blowing. It was really good. It was really good.
I did ask this. Was it Germany? It had to be Germany.
It was Germany. Germany and Poland. Those were the two places that I really enjoyed their beer. It was crazy.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Bavarian beer.
Bavarian beer? Haven't had it.
Go to Munich, go to the Hofbrauhaus, and I forget what the name was it too. I think it was like the second one off the menu in terms of like those big mugs they'll give you.
Yeah, I forgot what they call those things.
Anyway, it's to go for. I would say that.
It has that lid on it, right?
It's called a flask, I think.
Flask?
I think.
No, they were just real big mugs. They were just circular. They had a big handle on it and everything too. And it was like drinking like a king, for instance, and stuff like that.
I got plenty of photos of all the beers I was drinking out there. It was like drinking water. It was just
smooth.
It was good. I'd rather drink that than drink a Coke.
Yeah, you in line. And this one was actually a two-part, but I guess. What's your favorite non-alcoholic drinks? Or Kris, if you want to go first.
What's my favorite? What kind of drink?
Non-alcoholic, like the Cokes, water, those sorts of drinks.
Non-alcoholic drink, man. Oh, I actually make it. I make kombucha. My favorite drink is, I love kombucha, man. It's a probiotic, and I try to go by intuition. I don't really look too far into it, and I haven't really studied it. Just by intuition, I feel kombucha is really good. And I make ginger, cinnamon kombucha, and I love it.
I think I remember seeing like how kombucha was made, because I think it was on the show was called Shark Tank, and that's where they bring entrepreneurs bring like the products on for like an investment with sharks, for instance. And I think I remember it was like pulling out some sort of liver that was like used to like make the kombucha sauce. And everybody's like grossed out. I was saying it's not like that, is it? Or is this like
no.
Okay, good.
I don't want to. I actually don't want to say, because I don't want to conflict with anybody else's way of making it. But I love making it. I actually have too much right now. It turns to vinegar if you don't. There's this whole thing you have to do, and I'm at the point where I just like, when I do something, I almost would do it. Maybe I am a little bit obsessive compulsive, and when I do something, I overdo it sometimes. And I have like 6 or 7 or 8 baked things of kombucha in my refrigerator. I've made too much, dude. And so literally, I can admit that when I really like something, I overdo it sometimes.
It's like Friday night, buddy. You and me. That sort of thing. So, right. And Jojo, what's your favorite non-alcoholic drink?
It's a drink that I don't drink very often here, but when I do get a chance to drink it, I'm just devouring it. And it's called, it's hibiscus flowers, but it's a Hispanic drink called Jamaica. That's what they call it. I don't know. I just love that stuff. It's just something. It's different from any other drink that I've ever had in my life. But if I had the opportunity to drink it the way I like it, and someone can make it that way and not too strong or not too watered down, that will be it. I drink that all day, every day, if I could.
Yeah, actually, that sounds interesting. So send me a message later what the name is, and then I want to check it out. I want to research it. So
Cool.
All right. And the last fun questions. What is currently your favorite song? Kris, you can go first.
My favorite song is probably, I don't even know. It's by an old hardcore band. And, dude, actually, I have a recording of it, and I listen to it when I train. It goes, break out, F the system, you are not alone. Break out, because we're all behind you. Break out. I actually want to cover it or steal it, because I've been unable to find out who wrote it. I talked to all my hardcore buddies, like the guy that got me, he used to make me hardcore tapes, like mixtapes. And I said, who wrote this song? We can't even find who wrote it. I think it was a one-off, but I listen to when I train, because I train every day, man, and I want today to be a harder train than it was yesterday. I'm competing with the person that I was yesterday. So break out, F the system. That's what I call it. Those are the lyrics. And it's like straight hardcore. And literally, dude, at some point in my life, I want to cover that song, because that's really me, man. That's really where I'm coming from.
You know, I was trying to memorize it too at first. I don't know, it was like a Linkin Park one at first, the way you kind of described it too, but I don't know. I'll have to check it out. Maybe type in the lyrics and just try to Google it at that point. So
I have it on like a little tiny, like recorded cassette. It comes in blurry, and that's where I can completely relate to Jojo. It doesn't matter even the quality; it's the feeling I get from it, and it's more of a feeling than even what he's saying, man. But I want to break out a lot of times. I want to, you get into either habits, you got break out, F the system, and there's a lot of things in this world that I'd like to be a part of changing. I would like to change some stuff in our world through music.
Absolutely. That would be interesting. So to be determined. So we'll see when we get to that. And Jojo, what would you consider is your favorite song? I think the way you were looking earlier, it looks like, again, I'm sweating right now.
There's so many for so many different reasons, but there's one song that really did pop in my head because of Europe and going to Germany was Echo by Pink Floyd, but particularly the version where they played at Pompeii, like in '74, I think. That song is, I would say, is my favorite. Echoes.
Echoes.
Yeah, Echoes by Pink Floyd.
What album?
The only version I know of is the one where it's a live at Pompeii.
Wow.
Yeah, in '74. I believe I forgot what album it's really off of, but I like the live version because everything they did, they were improvising a lot of the times and doing some cool shit because it's not exactly the same on the album, but I prefer the live version. But yeah, there's just something about the performance and the song, everything about it. I mean, I can't even explain it. There's some lyrics in it, but Pink Floyd, it's some outlandish, I don't know what their meanings are. It's just some weird stuff. But I like the progression and I like the melodies in it and I like the cool little break in the middle of the songs. It was very experimental with all their sounds and stuff for the time. But I would have to say that's always a song I can go back to. That's my reset song. That's the song I listen to bring me back to a nominal place. If I'm too far over here or too far over there and I just need something to ground me, that's it. That's the song. And I'm like, okay, I'm fine. All right, cool. And I get to go back into this world where I'm going out of control again. And then bam, put that in. And I'm like, okay, cool. Here we go.
It's off
like Calm the Storm.
It's off the album Metal. It's the whole second side of the album called Metal. Meddle.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I think wait a minute. Yeah, well, here we go. Over here pulling out phones and stuff. Yeah, Metal.
Do you know it or do you Google know it?
That was '71. Yeah, so it took them a couple of years to improvise and do different versions. So by the time they did it at Pompeii, it sounds more refined. I think it sounds better the way they did it live than the way it was on the record. That's probably why I don't really like the album Metal too much. That's why it didn't resonate with me too much. But the chorus, Dark Side of the Moon, that's an album I can listen to from beginning to end. So if you were to ask me my favorite album, that would probably be my favorite album. Interestingly, it's Pink Floyd, and we don't do anything that remotely sounds like Pink Floyd. But that's just how it goes,
Yeah.
That's interesting. Actually, it's funny when you mention that too, because I do remember a friend in high school who was always big into Pink Floyd, and he would always wear the same Pink Floyd t-shirt and Pink Floyd hoodie all day, every day. Every time I saw him at school too. I mean,
was it the diamond or the?
Yeah, it was Dark Side of the Moon. It was the Dark Side of the Moon one.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah, I remember seeing that a lot in high school too.
No, I mean, I don't even know if he washed the shirt, to be honest, too. He was either that or he went to bed naked or something like that.
Rolling around in that funk.
Something like that. He was always a cool guy too. He was a little bit of a geek for Pink Floyd, I guess, video games and stuff like that too. So.
Oh yeah. I think it goes hand in hand because they're quite progressive. I don't think not everybody can easily get into them. So I do think they're music for nerds or music nerds like myself.
I'll tell you, I think the one I heard a lot was always the money, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
That's an awesome song, dude.
Actually, I think I heard a cover version when I was in Italy the one time. It was actually a female singing it. So that was actually cool. So. But it's all good, and good choices they're made. All right. So Kris and Jojo, we're almost out of time right here. We almost actually talked close to 2 hours already, but we're down to one more question, and I think we missed probably some topics here and there, so we'll probably save it for another time. But did you have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into the final question?
Final words are get in touch with us on Facebook. Just type in Engineered Society Project. Street Team. That's the way. If you're on Facebook, Engineered Society Project Street Team, and then you can type in. Is it typed somewhere? Facebook.com/ Engineered Society Rocks. We're on all social media streams. Our name is very unique, so just type in Engineered Society Project, and we'll come up on Twitter. We'll come up on, if you go to Instagram, it's engineered_society_project. We got a lot of great things coming up. Go to our website, www.engineeredsocietyproject.com. We'll be playing Houston. We'll be playing New Haven, Connecticut. We'll be playing the Whiskey A Go-Go. We got a bunch of great stuff happening to us. And I really, if people are involved in Facebook, Engineered Society Project Street Team, get in touch.
All right, Jojo?
Oh, man, he said it all, man. He said it all. I would say that we're going into the studio in February, so hopefully we will have some new material by summertime. I don't know how long that'll be, but I'm super excited to get this stuff out, man. I think this will be a more authentic representation of who we all are together, because we've been together for about, I think a year now with this album. So we're close to with the recording. So it's just about that time, and I'm just really excited to just see how people might react to some new stuff, because once again, like I said, we're really just creating from the heart. We're creating from our authentic self. It's not so much like we have some type of formula and we need to release something like this or that. It's just really who we are. So once again, I just really want that to be out there and have people have the chance to check us out with the new stuff.
All right, that sounds good. We're down to the last question right here. So you might have harped on it a little bit too, but here's how it goes. Given what COVID has done, so Jojo, you've been pretty blessed. You haven't been impacted too bad. I know, Kris, your life has been pretty up and down, and also with COVID as well too. But Kris, you can go first on this one. But what sort of message of hope could you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in a post-COVID world?
Post-COVID world, I would say one thing, and actually this is a very personal statement. It's basically find yourself. I find myself, I meditate twice a day, and I take out all sensory perception, and I meditate. I would recommend meditation. I did a lot of meditating during the COVID when you could do nothing. You had to find how to be comfortable with the silence of yourself, but there's much more to meditation. I would recommend meditation. I do a lot of internal martial arts. I do a lot of yoga. I do a lot of ways to come to the silence of myself. That's for musicians, but that's really for everybody, man, because there is a lot of hardship in the world. There's a lot of struggle. And I think finding a place in yourself where you're happy. And I actually find a lot of strength and health. So that'd be my recommendation. That'd be the one thing I want to say. And also I want to say, come join me. I want everybody to come out to my shows and be part of One World family. We're headed back to a place I used to play called Toad's Place in New Haven, Connecticut. We're hooking up with Dead by Wednesday. Overseas, give a shout out to our friend Lord Bishop from Lord Bishop Rocks. Just give a shout out to our family that we're developing. Give a shout out to the Bad Girl who's playing us on Rockstar Radio. Also, Tattoo Baby. She's been rocking our stuff on Rockstar Radio, and anybody else who plays us, man, we really support it because we're trying to do something here.
We're trying to do something here, man. That's sort of thing. Come on, let's do it. Let's work it out here, man. That sort of thing too. And I guess Jojo, you want to throw in your words real quick?
I mean, I don't really have much words. I have a hard time seeing that we're in a hopeless situation or in a hopeless world. I think everybody is doing something, and if they're not doing anything now, they'll do something soon if they really want to. It's almost like being in a shitty situation. If you really don't want to be in a shitty situation, you get a way out. And if you can't find a way out, find a mentor. Find somebody who looks or seems like they have a plan and implement that plan, and you most likely will get out of any type of situation. I think it's just being very much aware of where you are as an individual and where you want to be. So once again, the authentic self. And I know that's a hard thing to say once you've already felt like you've reached that point. And I know there's people who probably feel hopeless. But in that situation, just like what Kris said, Kris is a perfect example. If you heard his story, I mean, a man who's went through so much, and now here you see him, this man who's accomplished so much, and you can hear it in his voice that he feels at peace with himself, coming from the situations that he's gone through, and he found a method with his meditation and with the internal martial arts and external martial arts and having a mentor. So I think that's an example that some people could use to get out of whatever type of situation if they feel hopeless. But I'm just saying personally, I'm just a weird guy, man. I've never really felt super hopeless in my life. I've just I've always believed in myself and believed in I always had a plan. And I think being well informed growing up can give you some sense of security. And I think that's what I've had. I've always had a lot of mentors around me as a young kid, to where, I had wise words around me and I just used those things. And if you're in a position as a child, if you're out there listening to this, or if you're, a parent or this is an older individual, I think the youth, the kids, those are the individuals who you never really understand how much a kid is really listening and absorbing things around you. So if you have words of wisdom, and I'm just speaking for myself, would help me, you have that around you. Or if you're a person with words of wisdom, share it to the younger generation. And whoever wants to listen to it will listen to it. And whoever doesn't, it might stick somewhere back in the mind, and it'll be relatable in the future somehow. So I think that is number one, is always having information that could change people's lives and presenting it to anyone and everyone who has an ear.
Spoken like a true prodigy. And same with you, Kris. Spoken like a true prodigy. So that's all good. All right. So everyone, my guests today were Kris Keys and Jojo Brown. We got the front man, Kris, and the lead guitarist, and I guess also rhythm guitarist, Jojo, over here. And go hit him up on the socials. You heard from Kris earlier. Normally I meant to ask it like right now, like how else can people reach out to you, but it's all good. So
thanks, Gribbs. Thanks for having us, Gribbs.
No worries. It's the first time hearing that in a while. It's almost going back to my college days, so that's all good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Thank you for having us. This meant everything. I really enjoyed these questions and being able to express these things. And now people probably have a better understanding of who we really are, off stage.
Yep. And hey, I always welcome people into my house, so it's all good. So, all right. So go hit these guys up on the socials. Go check out the music, and wherever they're playing, make sure you go and check out their music, and you will not regret it. I'm gonna wait for the day for Jojo when he breaks that guitar. He does the slash. He just uses it like the axe. All right. So, Kris, right. Jojo. All right.
Later.
All right. Y'all take care. So,
Later.
Stay safe and stay tuned, y'all.
All right. Take it easy. Bye.